Hi guys, I'm tehjonbro and welcome back to the last video of the Q&A. Alright. Blue Knight asks who is your inspiration to do LPs, and I really can't narrow that down to one person, so I'm just going to kind of list in the form of a story, and I'm probably going to miss people in the course of this story, but Chugga Conroy was the first person who inspired me to do Let's Plays, because he's how I discovered, you know, good Let's Plays, because at least he's the first Let's Player that I ever saw that I actually liked and felt the urge to watch more videos from. And because of him, actually because his account got banned at some point temporarily, because people claimed ownership of his voice and then claimed ownership of other people's voices, and so other Let's Players got banned as well. It was just a big stupid ordeal. There was an interview with Chugga Conroy and Nintendo Capri Sun that was posted on YouTube at some point, and that's how I discovered Nintendo Capri Sun, and I saw some of his work, and I liked how laid back his commentary was and everything. I've already mentioned this, and I really love his spontaneity, and I really love how he can just think of things all the time to say. And similarly, I like how Super Genius, another Let's Player that I really enjoy, how he can just never stop talking and he always has something to say. And I really admire that about both of them. I wish I was more like them in that respect, or in that regard, or whatever. Because they don't just come up with things to say all the time. They come up with funny things to say that are just enjoyable. It's just fun to listen to them. And also Josh Jepson, for various reasons. He has funny moments in his commentary, and then his editing. Sometimes I watch his videos just to see how he edits them, because he has really awesome ways of editing his videos sometimes. He's like a genius with that. I seriously think he's a genius with that. I'm not just saying that because he may or may not be watching this, because he happens to be subscribed to me now, which is awesome. But yeah, he's a big inspiration to me as well because of his and Attacking Toucan's Super Mario Sunshine Versus thing, which finally got me into starting to make Let's Plays, like actually trying out with my recording software and all that stuff. And then Piko. Piko has influenced my commentary in ways that I'm not even sure I fully understand, because I know for a fact that when I've started watching, or whenever I started watching his videos, I was so just totally surprised by his completely unique, crazy, enthusiastic, loud commentary that I was always tempted to mimic his accents and his random voices and all of his stuff in my own Let's Plays. So I actually had to force myself to not record any videos whenever... This was during my Banjo-Kazooie Let's Play, my first one. I had to force myself not to record any videos until at least an hour after I watched something of his, because I was too tempted to mimic his style. Because, he's just so funny. He is just a funny guy. That's a true story. I was always tempted to say things like 20 rupees extreme and stuff like that, which would have been not original, and it would have kind of sucked, basically. So yeah. Those are my main inspirations for Let's Playing, I guess. Yeah. And Setsum asks, have you ever tried lead-flavored Gatorade? That doesn't sound like a real flavor of Gatorade, but if it was, I would not want to drink that kind of Gatorade on account of it probably killing me. So, no, I have not tried that. Senior Ninja Cube? I'm guessing that's the SR part of your name. I've only seen your name as Ninja Cube before, so I could be wrong. Thanks for sticking up for me over the past several months, by the way. What's the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? What do you mean? African or European swallow? What is your least favorite video game? I mentioned this before. Probably Legend of Spyro. I'm sure there's something that's worse that I've played, but that's the one that comes to mind. Bacchus Diem, I guess? Here's a few. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? That is a crazy question. I don't really know. I'm not really basing this on anything in particular, but where I think of myself being in Edmund McMillan's situation in about 10 years, that's just what I think in my mind whenever I think of that question, because he's the creator of games such as Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac, and I'm not saying that I would be in like Indie Game the movie or something like that, but I want to think that maybe like what I do with my time, may it be Let's Plays or may it be animation or something, it might be recognized beyond the point of, just being kind of known on the internet and maybe actually branching out into making a lot of new friends and maybe, I don't know, people recognizing my work as artistic and maybe like art rather than just something to play online. Because that's what I really want to do with making games and Flash movies, is actually going beyond what most people expect. I guess. I don't really know. Oh, my train of thought likes to derail. Do you read webcomics? If so, do you read Brawl in the Family? I have no idea what Brawl in the Family is. I think I've heard of it once before, but occasionally I read Cyanide and Happiness. That's the only webcomic I think that I've ever read that I've actually laughed at. So I read that one from time to time. I usually take like really long breaks, sort of without meaning to, from reading the comic. I just don't really see myself going to the Cyanide and Happiness page every day to see what the new comic is. But usually whenever I go there, I read a whole bunch of comics at one time, and I just laugh, and it is great. That, and I sometimes look at VG Cats, like just video game VG Cats, not even because I like the jokes. I don't like the jokes that much. They're pretty dumb, but I like the art style, and so sometimes I just read the comics just to look at the art style, because the person who does those has a very interesting and unique cartoon style that even changes from comic to comic, which is kind of fun. That's really about it, though. What do you like most about yourself? That is a good question. You ask good questions, sir. I like you. But the thing about that is, that's the kind of question that I feel like any answer that I could give it would sound self-centered, which I guess is kind of the point. So I guess it's okay. But the thing I like most about myself, I guess, is that I'm a perfectionist and I'm self-improving, I guess is the best way to put it. Because a lot of people that I see online or just about anywhere else, it seems like they feel like most of the work that they put out or most of the things that they say are perfectly satisfactory and there's no reason for them to improve. Or a lot of people like put out movies or something like that that are just kind of subpar. They don't really try to branch out into anything more exciting. They don't really have any ambition. And I always try to improve upon myself. I always look at my stuff and I'm like, oh man, this thing that I made 2 weeks ago is total crap. Because I'll look at all my weaknesses, or the things that I think are weaknesses, and all the things that I think are my strong points, over the things that I've learned over those 2 weeks, and I'll just say, I need to cut this out, and I need to replace it with this. Or, I like this, I should probably try to do this a little bit better, but it's just hard to improve unless you decide to take action yourself and maybe ask for constructive criticism or decide to look at your own weaknesses and decide what's good and what's bad. Because, if no one says anything and you don't say anything, then how are you going to improve? And so I guess the thing I like most about myself is that I try to make myself like myself better, just by doing things differently. Are you famous where you live? Sort of. Kind of. I mean, I'm sure that I stand out a little bit more at my school because I am one of the newer students. I've only been around a couple of years now. And I do put a visual pun on the board in my English room every day, just about. And I've been doing that this year and part of last year in one of my other classes. So I actually counted up how many puns I've made on the board total this year, and it's roughly 160, which is kind of insane. And usually whenever I'm drawing the pun on the board, people will try to guess what the pun is as I'm drawing it, and occasionally they'll actually guess what it is. But usually it's like some really off-the-wall pun, and then whenever I finally write it down, people are like, oh! That's ridiculous. That's fun. Oh, actually, yeah, I guess I am kind of famous, because I forgot all about this. my animated school projects pretty much went viral around my school immediately after they came out because, like, my chemistry project, whenever I showed that to my chemistry class, I only showed it to one class. And then they wanted to watch it 3 times in class. And for the next several days it was quoted, and then the same day that I put it up and showed it to the class, later on, maybe like 3 periods later, almost the whole school had seen it. It was just kind of nuts. And then my trigonometry project, whenever that came up, and I decided to make my my trigonometry project, my teacher, my math teacher, showed that to every period of the day, and I think we watched it again the next day. So pretty much the whole school saw that too, and it was just kind of insane. Oh, and both of those are still being quoted now, on occasion. Not all the time, but still. And someone even during a trigonometry test actually said, "I'm thinking of Jonathan's project to remember this." And it was great. Oh, man. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question. Oh, man. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, the Okami Master asks, what got you into Flash animation? And that is a rather fitting last question, I believe. I have always been intrigued by animation, just always. At most since I was 4 years old. Maybe I was younger than that whenever I got into thinking about how movies and things worked. And animations in particular kind of blew my mind, like, you know, Disney's Beauty and the Beast and Peter Pan and all that stuff. I just thought, man, this is so crazy. How do they draw so many pictures and put them together to make something move around? That is something that I would like to do sometime, because I liked to draw a whole lot. I would draw so many things. Drawing was like my favorite thing to do when I was younger. And eventually I just kind of got fed up with, you know, being able to draw something but not being able to make it move. And I was like, man, I want to make things look alive. I want to bring these things to life. Because I had a great imagination. I just wanted that imagination to become real, like in the movies. And so eventually, many years passed before I discovered Flash existed. I just kind of did a Google search one time and I discovered the program existed, and I got the 30-day trial, and my brother, or both of my brothers, eventually helped me figure out how to, you know, get an actual program working. I think one of them bought the program for me. And, you know, over time I learned how to make animations just by teaching myself, basically, and looking at things on Newgrounds and studying actual animated movies and such. So really, that's about the ticket with me wanting to make Flash animations. Is just me wanting to see ideas come to life in moving picture form. So yeah, those are all the questions that I received before getting 500 subscribers, which is still a crazy number to me. So thank you all very much for your questions. This has been so much fun. This is like the most interactive thing I've done with my channel, and I'm pleased with how it turned out. So just thank you all so very much. You are totally frickin' awesome, and I will see you in whatever I put up next.